I'm going to be showing you guys the magic of links and how you can turn your Roblox doors map into something jaw-dropping for anyone who joins. Now, we got 3 simple sections here. You can add more of these sections if you need to, but I'm going to be showing you the 3 basic things that every single Roblox doors map has. First, you got the starting hallway, where the players enter in, and then seat comes up, and blah, blah, blah. The second thing we have is we got ourselves the choosing hallway. Basically, you choose a door, you got to go over to the right one, blah, blah, blah. And the final thing that we have is the final hallway. The final hallway is going to be where the tentacles are and where you basically make your escape. Now, let me take a look and see. Hi, YouTube. I was one of the first to get on the stream. Hey, thank you so much for that. Now, let's go ahead and start with the basics. Before we do anything else, I do want to show you guys that we have a brand new permanent trader NPC that I made of Seek. So I'll go ahead and bring up the avatar page and the ID so you guys can copy this and you can have a real Seek in this game. See, that's the first primary thing here. Seek character 123. There it is. So if we go on Roblox right now, you can see here is the Seek character that you guys are going to be using in this tutorial. Now, if there is better Seek avatars, I will update this over time. But as you can see, instead of using a Piggy bot, instead of using something else, we got ourselves an accurate looking Seek. So I'll go ahead and give you guys the ID for that if you guys want to follow along. I'm going to pin the ID at the very top of the live stream chat. Kabam, there it is. And there you go. All right, so first of all, how do we get Seek to spawn in the game? That's a good question. Let's go ahead and begin our tutorial here. Now, trust me, guys, when you guys build this yourselves, you guys are going to just fall in love with being able to use links and seeing the magic that they bring. Before we start, actually, thank you so much for a donation. Hi, in a few days, can you help me with my lab map? It doesn't need to be now. I am not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure. Seek is Goofy. Yep, Goofy indeed. The big eyeball guy. Alright, let's go ahead and start the tutorial. First of all, we got ourselves a little room. Now, I was going to use the circular pad for Seek's ink, but I think we got a better way of making Seek's ink actually appear first. So, let's go ahead and begin. How do we get Seek to just teleport into the game? Now, some of you guys may be thinking, okay, let me just drop him in with a trapdoor. No, 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 no. Seek comes from below ground. We want to make this accurate. So, first, what you're going to do is you're going to make a very small little chamber here. So let's go ahead and do this, like this. This is a small little chamber. And the purpose of this chamber is it's going to be dropping Seek to the bottom of it. So let's go ahead and make some transparent glass. And as you can see, we got ourselves a little holding chamber. There it is. Now let's go ahead and move the glass over for a second. We're going to place down a powered block. So let's go ahead and grab the powered block here. And we're going to go ahead and grab our trader NPC. Place him here, just like this, and bam. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to... Listen, thank you so much for a donation. I really do appreciate that. All right, so let's go ahead and grab our trader ID. So we're going to go ahead and paste this in right here. Yeah, thank you very much once again. So right here, we got our trader ID. Now, what is this going to be dropping into? Well, it's going to be dropping into a touch trigger that we're going to put right here. Dude, I've been using links for so long, and I'm still not used to where things are. Now, we're going to set the settings for this touch trigger to look like this. This is going to be these settings, except for this. You can actually change this. But these 3 settings are perfect for trader NPCs. This is what will teleport them in. So we got that set up. Now, we're going to hook this directly up to a teleport block. And we're going to put the teleport block right here. We're going to make sure it's set to these settings with number 0. Now, we want the ink to appear and then Seek to come out of the ink. So how do we do that? Well, instead of directly connecting this to here, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to hook it up to a timer first. How about we hook it up to a 1-second timer? So we go here. This is already defaulted to 1 second, so we won't need to worry. And then hook it up to the teleporter. Now, how do we get Seek to drop into this teleport block? Well, it's very simple. What we're going to do is we are going to grab ourselves a touch trigger. Now, you guys know in Roblox doors, once you go through like about the middle of the hallway here, that's when Seek actually starts up. So we're going to delete this for now. We don't need it. And we're going to take a large touch trigger that goes across this entire thing. Remember, we don't want people to sneak by here, so we want to make sure it goes throughout the whole length. And we're going to set this to only players. So we're going to turn this off, only survivors, and stay on forever after touching. So we're going to hook this directly up to wait a minute, we need this block to stay on until we activate it. So in order to be able to do that, we're going to take a NOT gate and hook it directly up. And what that's going to do is it's very simply going to keep the block turned on until the players reach here and turn it off. But wait a minute, we don't want Seek to join in just yet. In fact, he'll drop down here immediately, but he might not teleport right away. So let's test this. You can technically do this either way, I would imagine. So you can have it where the players begin here, right? And Seek drops down into the chamber. And he, after about 1 second, he will automatically get teleported in. Or what you can do instead is you have it where they touch this, and a 1 second timer triggers this, turns it off, and drops them in. I would actually prefer that. So let's go ahead and show you guys how to do it. It's actually a lot easier of a way. So let's go ahead and hook this up to a timer, just like this. We're going to hook the timer directly up to this right here, and we're going to unlink it from the teleport block. And then, of course, we're going to have the touch trigger instantly teleport to this block. So once again, quick summary here. What's going to happen? Players are going to go in the middle of the hallway. They trigger this, and what happens? After 1 second, Seek will drop into here and will instantly teleport into the hall. So let's give it a quick little test here. Yeah, let's give it a quick little test just to demonstrate this real quick. So I'm going to put down the player spawner. We're going to drop that in. Hopefully there's not going to be any shenanigans with the loading bug. Thank you. So you can see, we start out here, and we're walking down the hallway, and then after 1 second, there's Seek. Seek is in the hallway right now, so you can see, there he is. Now, there is an issue here. You see, sometimes the trader NPCs have this weird falling animation, and it seems like they'll infinitely fall down. We don't want something like that. So, and we also want him to face forward. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to do a neat little trick that I discovered. It's very simple, of course, but I'll go ahead and show you guys that now. So here's what you got to do. First of all, we want to make sure he's contained, because we are going to make sure Seek runs down the hallway. And in order for him to run down the hallway, we're going to need the patrol point right here. So once he spawns in, he's immediately going to start running. And we don't want that just yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take ourselves some powered blocks. By the way, these are light blocks in order to give Seek a little bit of a red glow. You don't have to add these in, of course. Those are just there if you really need them. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to put Seek into his own little invisible chamber. And we're going to make it 2 blocks wide going forward. So you can see 2 blocks wide going forward. Then we're going to make 1 more barrier wall, and we're going to move it into here. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's going to hold him inside. Now, what we're going to do, how do we make him face forward? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a patrol point, just like this, and we're going to put it directly here. That way, when he spawns in, he will go to the first available patrol point that's available to him, and he'll walk forward. And he'll stop here, which means he will be facing directly forward. Now, how do we get the ink to spawn in? Because that's always the coolest part, right? How do we get the ink to spawn in? Well, what we're going to do is first we're going to take a monitor. Let's go ahead and grab a monitor out of the decoration section. We're going to make it facing upwards like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a powered block. So let's go ahead and grab our powered block right there. Now, I'm going to make this the exact color and texture, so you can see right there. And we're going to give ourselves a little bit of an ink blob. Now, you're probably wondering, why do you want to put a monitor? Why do you even need the monitor? Because of this. You'll notice that when I put it into the ground, it is 1 pixel off of the ground. And you can see here, there's no Z fighting, there's no flickering, none of that. And we can directly put this underneath. But before we do that, what we want to do is we want to take this and connect it directly here. That way the ink will instantly appear once we touch the touch trigger, and then Seek will spawn in. So how does it look now? Well, let's give it a test. I really need to make sure I save so that the loading bug doesn't kill me. Seek, why did you spawn in? Seek, you weren't supposed to spawn in yet. I didn't even touch the touch trigger yet. Wait, what? Wait, why did he spawn in? I got another idea. If you think that he's spawning in a little bit too early, there's a very simple fix to it. It is the simplest fix you will ever see. All you have to do is raise it up by 1. You can raise it up by 1 or a little bit more. But remember, the farther up you put it, the longer it's going to take for him to reach the ground. So what you can do is you can do this. Also, we didn't close this up. We need to make sure this is closed so that he falls directly inside. All right, let's test it out now. So remember, everybody, we're in the hallway. We're moving along here. And what's great about this is that there's no ink. There's no ink here at all. Now, you do want to make sure, you can see here, we're bumping into those invisible barriers. We don't want those invisible barriers until Seek appears. So how do we do that? Well, I'll show you in just a bit. But let's go ahead and demonstrate the example. So we're walking through the doors hallway. The ink appears, and then Seek ends up appearing. Well, on the ground at least. And as you can see, he's facing directly forward. Now, I think I can lower him a little bit. I don't think I need to actually put him up so high. But you can see here, he's facing forward. And then at some point, we're going to have him release. So let's go ahead and take a look and see. Let me take a look and see. Book 3, here we come. I don't know about that, but how about Doors Floor 2, huh? Coming in 2067. Where I'll be, God knows how long, how old. I'll be probably dead. So, how do we get this to where this isn't bumpable until this appears? We're going to be using a flipper circuit. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take a link hub, we're going to take a timer, and we're going to take an XOR gate. And finally, we're going to get one more link hub and put it at the very top. Now, you can follow how I link this up here. But a flipper circuit basically turns something on and then off after a certain amount of time, despite like a lever being held completely on. Because remember, if you have a lever held on or a touch trigger set to permanently turned on, it's not going to turn anything off. That's why you use this flipper circuit. So, cool, we got that. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect this to the top, and we're going to connect the output here to all of these blocks. So let's go ahead and connect it to all of the barrier blocks. So now when we enter into here, we can walk through here perfectly fine. But once we hit this, this will set up and turn on to hold Seek in his place. And then it will release Seek in order to be able to begin the chase. So how long do we have this for? How about we have it for 3 seconds? How about we have this for 3 seconds, right? So we can go ahead and start the game up. Let's see if it works. Oh wait, before I do that, hold on. Before I do that, first, I need to make sure I save the map, and I also need to make sure that Seek isn't falling from such a high place. Can you post all your NPC, trader NPCs? Yeah, I'll be posting them pretty soon on my Discord. We already got a Discord full of them, so if you guys want, links in the description if you guys want to join the Discord server. Now, if you guys are making something like this, I highly recommend that you do this. There we go. Gonna be a lot better, having it very close like this. Okay. By the way, you don't have to make this 2 blocks tall. You can make it 1 block tall if you really want to. I just made it 2 blocks tall just because. All right, let's go ahead and begin. Oh, I didn't save. Crap. I keep forgetting that. All right, so as you can see, the invisible blocks are no longer here. They're not here at all. We can go ahead and walk through. We're perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. But when Seek appears, you can see the ink appears. He stays in his spot. And then after the 2-second timer, the barriers are gone. And you can see, oh no, Seek is chasing us. Wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute, Seek, where are you going? Seek isn't able to kill anybody. Now, we could do something very simple. We could make it to where we can make him trader mode. So we just go over here, and we go to his little setting, and we can check that on to be trader mode. So we can do something like this. And I recommend doing that. I really do. But what if we did something one step further? See, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have probably been wondering why I've wanted the power death block for so long. And this is one of the reasons. We're going to be using a power death block substitute. However, keep in mind that when power death blocks do come in the game, I almost thought I was muted for a second. I was really worried about that. Keep in mind, when power death blocks do come in the game, you're going to do basically the same exact thing. All right, so how do we make it so that anybody who is in his path will instantly die? Well, the first thing what we're going to do is we're going to get a bunch of touch triggers. Now, remember, this is a tedious process. This is a bit of a tedious process. You could make a trader mode, and that'll be it. That's perfectly fine. But if you do want to go one step extra, if you do want to be able to really make this be something really crazy, here's what I recommend. And I'm not going to do it for the full thing. I'm just going to show a very brief example. We're going to give Seek a hitbox. Now, some of you guys might not know what a hitbox is. It basically detects when something is colliding into something. So, for example, right? we want to give Seek a hitbox whenever he's running. So we got 3 different squares here. We got 3 different squares. And we want all of them to be activated once Seek touches them, right? So, but we want to make sure that the players end up getting triggered by it too, right? So for example, when Seek is inside of this block, we want to make it so that anybody else who is in this block will instantly die. And then as he's running, he'll activate this block. And the same thing will happen, and the same thing will happen. That way, it makes it so that Seek does a wide sweep throughout the hotel halls. And it makes it so that people can't just go like this. And basically run around in a circle. Be like, hey guys, I'll hold off Seek for you. And just running around in a circle like that. So basically some, crazy stuff like that. So how do we make ourselves a Seek hitbox? How do we do something like this? Well, the first thing what we're going to do is we need to make sure that the game knows when Seek detects triggering this. So we're going to have 2 different hitbox, 2 different touch triggers inside of each other. So I'll do this with 2 just to make a very short example. But for the player hitbox, we're going to make sure it's set to can players trigger, only survivors, and stay on forever after touching. No, actually, we're going to keep this like this. We're going to keep it like that. So we're going to do the same thing. NPCs off, turning this off. That way we can have it so that multiple people can touch this and they'll end up dying. All right, now we need our second trigger. And we're going to make this one a little bit taller than this one. And you're probably wondering why. And the reason why we're making this one... Oh, wait, hold on. There's a light in the way. And the reason why we're making this one a lot taller is because you'll notice when I move it inside of here, it's easy to remove. You can see... I'll move this aside for a second. But you can clearly see 2 of them here. That way, if you need to move something out of the way, if you need to do any of that, you can simply select it. Hey, I could select this one, or I could select this one. So having that outward scale, you see what I mean? It just really, really makes a big difference. Yeah, let me go ahead and save the map real quick. I really don't want to forget that. Let's go into base plate for building. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and start with this first hitbox. Let's go ahead and begin. So, with this second hitbox that we have up here, this is going to detect Seek himself to activate the hitbox. So, we're going to go into settings. We're going to set this to the opposite settings. We're going to make sure NPC is on, player trigger is off, anybody, and we're going to keep this as stay on forever after touching. Hey, Halusa, thank you so much for your donation. Can you play my sister map? Unfortunately, we're not playing Piggy Build Mode maps for today's stream. So, how do we do this? How do we link this up so that this takes effect? Well, the last thing that we do before any of this is, again, because it's a death block substitute, we need to have somewhere secluded where players will get teleported to die. So let's go ahead and just make like a little a slime box. How about we make ourselves a little slime box? And we're just going to put a bunch of death blocks inside of here and all that cool stuff. Now, again, this would work the same exact way if you had powered death blocks, except you would keep the NPC trigger, and instead, you would have, instead of this player for the trigger for the players, all it would be is a powered death block. And all you would do is link this directly to this. That way, when Seek's moving, he powers on the death blocks over and over. But because we don't have powered death blocks, we're going to have to do this substitute for now. Which is weird, because Minitoon said he was going to add the powered death blocks, but I don't know whatever happened to that. It would make things so much easier. It really would. All right, so let's go ahead and have a place where players teleport to die because we don't have the powered death blocks. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do this where they teleport into a little area. And of course, powered death blocks would have a lot more uses than just something like this. But this is just one example. All right, let's go ahead and go into events. We're just going to throw down some simple death blocks in here. You can make a jump scare sound. You can make it whatever you want. We're just going to have a simple teleport into here. And we're going to put the teleport block right here. Now, we're going to make sure we set this to affect survivors, repeat, 0 seconds. That way, it triggers for multiple people, and people can't just bypass it at all. So we have that all set up here. Now, what we're going to do is we're basically going to tell the game, hey, game, if this trigger has been set off, if Seek has reached this location, and a player has touched that location, teleport them. So what gate are we going to be using? We're going to be using the AND gate. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to be using the AND gate here. And we're going to have that AND gate be an output over directly to here. So we have that all set up. So once again, if Seek touches this and a player is in here, it will teleport them. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and connect this to the AND gate and connect this to the AND gate. And there you have it. You basically got your power death blocks right there. Now, you don't have to build a new death chamber. You can basically do the same exact thing over and over. The same exact thing, just like this. Now, once again, I do have to emphasize, though, that you probably will need a separate AND gate for each one of these. So, imagine just having a row of AND gates going like this for each hitbox. So, you're going to want to have something like that. So, let's go ahead and test this real quick. Let's go ahead and test this to make sure that this actually works. Now, I will put a little indicator light here just so we know where the hitbox is. So I'll put 2 lights here to show that between here is where the hitbox is. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and test this. First, of course, I'm going to make sure I save the map. There we go. We're going to go into bot, and we're going to see how this looks. We got our working touch trigger. Now, you would be using the same exact concept if you were to do something like Rush as well. Except you would need those death triggers to be able to turn off. That's the thing you have to be very careful of. And there's a very simple way of doing that, which I'll show after this. Anyways, so we're in the hallway. As you can see, it's perfectly safe for us to walk across here. But once Seek reaches this location... Hold on. Okay, so he's activated the touch trigger. Once Seek has reached... Seek, wait a minute. You're not supposed to pull on the knife on me yet. So, you can notice that something's wrong. It's not teleporting me to the death chamber. But why is that? Seek has clearly teleported it, triggered it, but something is wrong. Well, we can diagnose the problem. Sometimes you guys might have problems with links. And the best way to be able to figure out the problems is with lights. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a lantern. We're going to take 2 different lanterns. We're going to have this one on the wall be Seek, and we're going to have this one on the wall be players. So we're going to take the Seek lantern and connect it to here. And we're going to take the player lantern and connect it to here. That way we'll know that these touch triggers are working. If they're not working, something's a problem. And finally, for our last light here, we're going to put it on the wall, and we're going to have this be the AND gate light to show that the AND gate is actually working. So let's go ahead and diagnose the problem. Aside from that, though, from what I'm able to tell, this can get triggered by Seek, and it stays on forever after touching. It's connected directly to here, and then we got the player trigger here as well. And unless this is also set to... No, it's not. Everything's all set up. So, something is wrong here. But what could it be? Well, we're going to figure that out right now. You can link lanterns? Yes. You just can't link invisible light blocks or custom light blocks, which is the most important light blocks, and they're bugged right now. So you can see the lantern turns on and off, so the player trigger is working. Let's see if the Seek trigger ended up working. Yes, and you can see that the Seek trigger ended up staying on. So... it's powering the AND gate. You can see it's powering the AND gate, which means something is wrong with the teleport trigger. But what could be wrong with that? What could be wrong with something like that? Well, I think I just figured it out. I think I might have figured it out. You'll notice that Seek probably isn't here. Oh no, he still is here. He's making his way back. Don't worry about him. Now, we might have a problem because the game can't decide whether it wants to teleport Seek or whether it wants to teleport the players. So how do we fix something like that? We're going to use something I like to call a buffer. Now, a buffer makes it so that it blocks a signal from teleporting you. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So first thing what we're going to do, so we're going to go to the player NPC trigger, and we're going to unlink that. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take ourselves a link hub. Now, this does look similar to the flipper circuit, but trust me, it's not. And an XOR gate. And we're going to set the timer to 0. And what we're going to do is we're going to link it going this way. Just like this. Now the signal is so thick that it won't basically trigger the NPC teleportation. So let's go ahead and do this. Just like that. And we got that set up. And it still goes into the AND gate. It still functions the same way. But with this one being directly connected to the AND gate, and this one being directly connected to the teleport block, it should teleport us to our correct place. Now, do we have our correct settings? Yep, survivors infected. Yep, we got all that. It's all working. So let's see if this fixes it. Let's see. So, we're going to go in. Seek's puddle spawns in. Seek appears, and he's going to be running after us right now. So you can see here, Seek is going to set off the hitbox. So that gets set off. Now, if we walk into here, it works. So you can see that the AND gate was confused. It's like, wait, am I supposed to teleport the player NPC? Or am I supposed to teleport the player himself? I don't know. But by having that buffer, it basically tells the game, turn off the data for this player. Because for those who don't know, when you touch a touch trigger, it basically, it takes your data. It basically just says like, username ErnieC3 has touched this block. Or for NPCs, it'll say username Seek NPC has touched this block. And because they are both directly connected, the game was like, who am I supposed to teleport? But by blocking out the signal, it makes it so that it says, well, the only signal I can pick from is Ernie, so time to teleport Ernie. So how you would do this is you would basically make this row by row by row. Now you can make this as long and as short as you want to, but it basically makes it so that you got a real working Seek on your hands. So let's go ahead and summarize once again. Seek appears from the, we can walk through perfectly fine. Touch this. Seek appears here. Now, we don't want players getting a head start necessarily. We want to be able to hold them off here until Seek fully comes out of his puddle. Just like in the real game. Now, if we had something like camera blocks and whatnot, we would be able to like have the camera directly on Seek. But you can see here, let's put down an invisible barrier first. Oh, wait, first we got to move this light block up. Yeah, because it's clipping here. There we go. So we're going to move that directly up. And we're going to have another flipper circuit for this. In fact, you can have the same flipper circuit for this block. So all you got to do is connect it directly to here, and it works the exact same way. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to go ahead and show you right now. Let me go ahead and save the map, just like that. I'll go ahead and show you guys just as proof. So we're going to go in here, and you'll see I'm not able to progress forward at all until Seek gets released. And that's when the chase begins. And of course, you have the hitboxes going all the way across. And if Seek ends up reaching you, then you end up dying. Like I said, you can replace it with powered death blocks, and there you go. So what else are we missing? Well, we're missing one other thing. How do we end the game? How do we end up ending the game? Well, luckily, because this is a one-way path, and if Seek reaches you, you basically die, you won't actually have to worry about Seek, despawning from here. You could make him despawn if you really want to, and you can end up blocking off the door here once Seek reaches this location. Which, you know what, I think we're going to do. Because otherwise, Seek will end up running back here. Players might get confused about the open door, and they might walk back in here, and then they'll end up dying. So we don't want something like that. So how do we do this? Well, a simple solution we can do is we can take some powered blocks right here to basically block off the door once Seek reaches here. And it's as simple as taking a touch trigger, putting it on top of this patrol point where Seek is going to reach, setting it to where only he can trigger this, and stay on forever after touching, and connect it directly to the block. That way, when Seek reaches the thing, you can play a door slamming sound effect too if you really want. But it'll basically block off that pathway. Now, for the fire and things like that, you can have something as simple as death blocks. And you can put it inside the fire, of course. If player touches the fire, they end up dying. Now, what do we do about the tentacles, though? How can we do something cool for the tentacles? Well, we don't want players to go over here. So you can do something as simple as putting death blocks, right? But what if you want to take things one step further? And no, I'm not talking about hitboxes either. What I'm talking about is block animations. So we're going to make a very simple block animation for our tentacles here. So what we're going to do is instead of having these regular old blocks, we're going to have ourselves some powered blocks. We're going to place them down right here. Let me do that. There we go. Now, we're going to program out each frame of animation. And this is very easy, by the way. So we want to have the tentacle down here. The tentacle going up a little more. Like this. And then the tentacle going up a little higher. Like this. Like that. So you can see we got that. So we got the tentacle going up like this. Back and forth. So how do we do something like this? Well, normally what you would end up doing is use a flipper circuit for each. But there's a problem with that. And I'll show you guys that problem in just a second here. These are some pro tips that I'm about to show you. So first, let's go ahead and do the flipper circuit. So we want these tentacles to start moving when this gets activated, once the sequence has actually started. So what we're going to do is we're going to build our same flipper circuit that we did for before. So we're going to go ahead and take ourselves the timer, the NOT gate. Now, if you're wondering how a flipper circuit works, essentially, when the sequence starts, power is brought into this gate right here. And the XOR gate says, if one power source is into me, I turn on. If 2 power sources are into me, I turn back off. So that's the key. So once the sequence starts, the animation gets activated, and we're having it connected directly to a link hub, so we have as many blocks we can connect it to as we want. But remember that this power source also powers on the timer. And the timer says, okay, I want you to power on for a certain amount of time. After a certain amount of time, power on. And once it's powered here, the XOR gate says, hey, wait a minute. There's a second power gate on me right now. I'm turning off. And that's how the flipper circuit works. Despite the fact that this link hub is still being powered, the output goes on and then off. That's a flipper circuit. And it's extremely important that you guys know about how to use flipper circuits. Probably the most important circuit that I could ever show you guys, because it's completely different from the looper. While the looper, you can time out exactly when you want something to happen, you can't time the cooldown. So you can have something appear, but it'll be scaled. It's a lot of mumbo jumbo. Anyways, so let's go ahead and have the let's have this frame last for 3 seconds. 0.3 seconds, I mean. Now we're gonna go ahead and have 3 frames of animation here. We're having ourselves 3 frames. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we got one little problem here, and that's the fact that what if we want the tentacle to go up and down and up and down instead of going 1, 2, 3 and then going back all the way down? What if we wanted to go bam, 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 bam like that? I'll show you guys in just a bit. Let's go ahead and take care of some of the simpler parts first. Let's go ahead and do that first. So we're going to go ahead and build out the rest of our flipper circuits here. Super easy stuff. So we're going to go like this. Link to both of these. Link to both of these. Also, I'm going to look at your guys' chat real quick while I'm doing some of the linking here. Because seeing this in action, you guys are going to really like it. You guys will be like, whoa, that's so cool. Let me take a look and see. Bro has 50 alts. Yeah, I make a lot of trader NPCs now. I make a lot of them. I made a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's ones, and I plan on making more of them too. So you guys won't have to worry about that. So we're going to go over to all of the timers here, just like this. Now, we have one issue, and it's very easy solved. If we connect our starting sequence directly over to all of these, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is every frame of this animation is going to turn on all at once and then disappear. And we don't want something like that. We want it to play in order. So how do we do something like that? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a looper. First things first is we're going to take a looper. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take a timer, 2 timers here. We're going to take 2 timers, just like this. I'll move this a little bit farther away so you guys are able to see it a little bit easier. But what we're going to do is first we need to make sure what frame of animation goes where. That's the most important part we're going to be doing first. Losing track of your guys' links, that's no good. That's real no good. So let's go ahead and order this out first. Yeah, let's go ahead and order this out. So we're going to have the bottom one be number 1, number 2, and number 3. So let's go ahead and order this out. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. So we got that all set up. Now for number 1, we're going to hook this directly up to all the blocks in our animation. For number 2, we're going to hook it up to all the blocks in our animation. And finally, for number 3, can you guys take a wild guess? That's right, we're going to hook it up to all of our frames of animation. There we go. So we got that. So now these are working animation frames. Now, what do we do about this? Well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to hook the looper up directly in a row to these timers, and we're going to make these timers the same time as our animation frames. So we're going to go ahead and go to 0.3 like this, and do the same thing here. So now the flipper circuit is saying, hey, so now this starting sequence, instead of it powering everything on at once, what it's doing is saying, hey, listen, looper, I want you to basically power on each one of these individually. And using those timers, we have 1, 2, 3. And you won't have to worry because these are connected to flipper circuits. So let's connect the first timer to the second animation frame, and the third timer to the second timer to the third animation frame. Now you're probably wondering, why wouldn't I just connect this first one to the first one? That doesn't make any sense. What we're going to be doing is we're connecting the looper to the first frame. We don't need a timer. Once the animation begins, once it begins here, when the loop starts, we're powering this first frame on immediately. We don't need a timer Because otherwise, the looper would be powered, and then you would have to wait a certain amount of time for the first frame to appear. So we want this first frame to appear instantly. Instantly like that. And then the other frames to appear shortly after. So we got all that good stuff. So, well, let's take a look and see if it works, huh? Let's see if this ends up working. First, let's make sure that we got our loop set to infinite. And we got to make sure we set this to an appropriate time. Let's set this to 0.6. Because remember, you don't want this so short that it ends up cutting off the animation frame. You don't want something like that. The last thing we're going to do is we need to merge all of these. So what I recommend doing is testing out the game first. So we're going to go ahead and test out the game first to make sure that all of these blocks are properly hooked up. Some of your guys' animations might have a ton of blocks. Like, for example, the Dragon and Scale Spire, or Tumble Tower, as some of you guys know, has a ton of blocks. So before I merge anything together, I make sure everything works. So you can see here, it's working. But you can see how quickly the third loop goes. You see what I mean? In order to fix something like that, we need to make the looper a little bit of a longer time. But we can see here that every block is being powered in the animation frame. So we can go ahead and merge those together now. That way it doesn't look like the tentacle is moving somewhere. We definitely don't want something like that. So let's go ahead and fix that. Let me take a look and see. It's looking good, Ernie. It's cool. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So we're going to go ahead and merge all these. So we're going to take all these blocks and merge them into the same area. The same exact area. So it looks a little weird here. You can see some of the things. But don't worry, this is working exactly as intended. Now, let's go over to our looper. Because remember, you were only able to see the third frame animation for a very short second. It was like that quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this to, how about we set this to about 0.9. Let's see if this ends up working. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, actually, it's fine. It's totally fine. I have to start the animation sequence anyways. Ernie, you use lasers for Seek's hitbox? That's a good point. But then you see the lasers. The lasers are not invisible. You see the lasers. And that gets a little bit ugly. Probably not the best thing you would want for your map. So, you want something a little more realistic. You can do whatever you want, though. Totally fine. But you can see, there's the tentacle animation. It's going as it needs to be, directly how it is. Now, you can see, maybe we want this to, you can see the frame is disappearing a little bit. How do we fix something like that? We want to have it default to where the arm is staying at the bottom. How do we do something like that? Well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that. Now, this is a pro tip. If you guys know something like this, then you guys are absolutely on a roll. Now, let's go ahead and try and fix this here. All right, so we don't want any gaps here. Now, what you could do is you could keep lowering this over and over again until you get just the right amount to where it loops back. You could do something like that. Totally easy. But if you want some more customization options, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to use a NOT gate so that it defaults to the bottom animation. So instead of it going 1, 2, 3, disappearing, 1, 2, 3, instead you'll have it where it goes 1, 2, 1, 2, and this frame, the bottom frame, ends up staying there. It ends up staying there. So how do we do something like that? Well, what we're going to do is we are going to directly do this. Now, because we have a frame that's already turned on, we need to delete this first timer. And instead, we're going to follow the same rules that we did. We're going to connect it to here. Instead of connecting it directly to this first one, we're going to keep it connected to this one, and we're going to connect it to here. Now, you're probably a little confused by that, but let me put it simply. This first frame is always turned on. It's always turned on. But when the looper starts, it's going to immediately make this disappear and start this one as the first one. It's going to start here, and then the NOT gate's going to turn off, and this will be the first one. So let's go ahead and show you guys what that looks like. And we're keeping this as the third frame, of course. Same stuff as always. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that ends up making sense. I'll show you guys right now what that ends up looking like. In case you guys are a little bit confused. Let me see. Let me see. I don't know how the gates work. Maybe I'll do a more basic tutorial on the gates pretty soon. But you can see. Hold on. We gotta wait for Seek to pass by. Otherwise, he's gonna end up killing us here. Oh, wait. I forgot something. I totally forgot something. I mislinked something. So you can see the frame's not there. Don't worry, I did it right. I just mislinked something. So let me go ahead and show you guys real quick. You guys might end up making this mistake too. Don't worry, this is totally normal. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna unlink from here. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna unlink from this too. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna swap places. And the reason why we're swapping places is because we get to keep all of the stuff that we linked here. We don't have to go and relink everything. None of that. Instead, we just connect this to here as if it was the link hub, and then connect this directly to the link hub itself. And that's going to make it so that everything here is completely powered on and good. So let's go ahead and show you guys what that looks like now. So now it's going to end up working here. You got to be careful of that kind of stuff though. You got to be real careful. So, yeah, hopefully some of this makes sense for those of you who use links and stuff like that. But trust me, if you guys learn links, you guys will be able to do almost anything you want in build mode. It's absolutely incredible. So you can see the tentacle stays defaulted and it goes all the way back up. But you can notice that the looper ends a little bit early here. You can notice that it ends a little bit early. Now, how do we fix something like that? Well, it's very simple. I think we need to remove the first flipper circuit and have it only as a NOT gate. And I mean only as a NOT gate. Because remember, we need stuff to power on and back off. But when the looper restarts, it'll default to being this anyways. So let's see what happens. Let's go ahead and delete some of this stuff and have the looper just directly connected to here. Let's see what happens. Because we don't need that NOT gate to turn back on and off at all. We don't need any of that. Let's see what happens. So we're back in the seek hallway. We're going to go over here. How many alt accounts do you have? That's a good question. I made Bonnie, Chica, Freddy, Foxy. I've made the Puppet, Withered Foxy, Golden Freddy, Molten Freddy. But you can see here, it goes up. Wait a minute. There's a gap of animation there. See? It's supposed to be holding at the last animation. Or you can notice here that it's holding at the last animation. But how do we fix something like this? Well, it's very simple. We're just going to be fixing the looper. Now, you could, in fact, do something like this, which I'm going to be showing you guys right now. Now, if you don't want that last frame to disappear until the looper goes back to what it's doing, you could do this. You could do the same exact thing that you did here, like this, just for the ending animation. Now, of course, we're going to go ahead and link the third timer directly up to here, just like that. And that's going to keep it powered on until the looper restarts the cycle. But the thing that I'm wondering about a little bit is, I'm wondering if it's going to keep the third frame of animation turned on. Wait a minute, we don't want something like that. We probably don't want something like that. No, we don't. You guys don't have to worry about deleting the flipper circuits at all, by the way. As long as you have the main link hub, the amount of work you have to put in going and putting everything back here is very minimal. Very minimal. So we're going to go ahead and connect all these back here. Connect the timer directly to here. And don't forget, if you're reconnecting this stuff, you're going to want to make sure that you have this set back to the same frame time that you have everything else here. Now, let's go ahead and lower this. Let's go ahead and lower this a little bit. How about we go to 0.7? Let's see if 0.7 ends up working. So let's take a look and see. Let's see. Let me see. Yep, another one. Another one! Alright, here we go. People trying to frame the mods. Wait, what? Wait, what's happening in the chat? I don't know what's happening in the chat. When will the Wither Foxy release? Your fans are so eager to see. Pretty soon. I'm editing the video right now. So you can see, we got a bit of an issue here. See, the tentacle itself is moving up and down, but the looper's ending a little too early. So we gotta tweak it a little bit again. We gotta make it slightly higher. And this does take a lot of tweaking if you really want to get this to loop around perfectly. But it's totally fine. You just have to tweak this a little bit, and you'll be on your way. So what if we set this to 0.8? What if we set it to 0.8? Let's take a look and see. Let's see. Okay, all right, let's go over here. All right, here we go. So we're gonna move over here, directly over to this tentacle. And let's see if the tentacle ends up looping around now. Let's see if this ends up working. So we can see, oh, it doesn't go to the third frame of animation yet. Oh, I didn't hook it up. Wait. Sorry. I didn't hook it up yet. I didn't re-hook it up, and I died by C. Hold on. Let me fix this real quick, and I'll be able to demonstrate this properly. I was right. I was like, wait, hold on a second. We need to tweak it a little bit here. Hold on a minute. Yeah, all you have to do is bam. That's it. That's all we have to do. Every now and then, it's just like one simple thing you didn't link that you have to test out. And you're like, oh man, how did I end up missing that? I work with Oof to make a huge city map. Hoping you can make a video on it because of how huge it is. If you get picked in the Piggy Build Mode maps streams, then yeah, absolutely. So you can see, we almost got it. There's only a brief frame where you can see the whole tentacle disappear. So how do we fix something like that? Well, we just gotta lower it by a teeny tiny amount. Just a tiny amount. Just a tiny amount. And we got it. It's like balancing something. Have you guys ever tried to like balance a pencil on your nose or something, or on the top of your lip or something like that? It's exactly like that. So we just gotta balance it out a little bit, and you guys are gonna see the result of a moving tentacle. So we're gonna go here, just like that. And of course, you can put powered death blocks, or you can put regular death blocks there if you want. I'm saying powered death blocks, so many tune adds it, of course, but you guys know what I mean. So you can see it goes up, you can see it disappears. Even when it disappears, though, something's not right here. Oh, and I got stabbed by Seek. Why is it disappearing like this? How do we get it to where there's no gap right there? How do we get something like that? How do we get something like that? How do we fix that? Well, I think we can fix that by, you know what? I figured it out. We're going to unhook from here, and we are going to use a flipper circuit, but I didn't time it right. That's the thing we did wrong. I'm going to show you guys how to fix this. So we're going to hook this directly up to here, hook these up directly down to here and here, and we got to make sure this top one is hooked up to the timer as well, and hooked up to here. So what did we do wrong? Well, we need to add up the numbers until we get to the very end. So we have, each one of these is 0.3 seconds. So 0.3 times 2 is 0.6. So now when both of these frames are back, this will reappear. And you're still keeping this as the same thing here because there's a NOT gate here. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens here. We just had to do a little math here, huh? Everybody's like, oh god, no. I have to do math in Piggy Build Mode. This is super rare. You won't have to worry about this. This is probably the only time I've ever had to do something like this. Yeah, you guys won't have to worry. You guys won't have to worry. Imagine if ManyToons doing it, watching live. That'd be super cool. I'd love for him to see the stuff we're doing. Ooh, you can see we almost got it here. We need to lower it probably by 1. You can see we almost got it. Almost got it. So we're gonna adjust that timer to make the NOT gate reappear one more time. Let's go ahead and do this. All right, let's go over here. Let's go over here. Let's go over here. So maybe we do need to make it 0.3. Maybe we have to do count up all the other frames minus 1 frame. Maybe you have to do something like that. Let's find out what happens when we do something like that. I'll go ahead and show you guys what happens if we do something like that. Ernie is not safe. Ernie, you need to move houses. Seek is outside of your house right now. I mean, I am in my house right now. In both ways. See? Alright, so you can see. Wait a minute. It duplicates. We don't want the NOT gate to come back that fast. So how do we solve this? Well, you guys are going to like this. You guys are going to like this. We're going to add up every frame, but for the last frame, we're going to divide it by 2. So for the last frame, see, this one's 0.3, this one stays as 0.3. We're adding up each frame, so it's 0.3 and 0.3. This is the last frame, so we're cutting this number in half. So it would become 1.5, right? And don't enter that here. Keep this one as 0.3. So we're doing 0.3 plus 1.5. So let's go ahead and do this. So 0.3 plus 0.15 would become 4.5, just like that. So let's see what happens now. Let's see what would end up happening here if we did that. Let's see. All right, so we're gonna go here. I probably should add the speed blocks that I got hovering up there and put them into here. Yeah, you guys are probably noticing I'm walking very slow. You can put a big speed block in here and you guys will be able to run a lot faster. I know some people don't have the speed block though. And look at that! It fixed it! So you divide by 2 at the very last timer frame, and you got yourself a working tentacle! Look at that! And I believe no matter how you adjust the looper, it should work fine. Unless the looper is itself too short. And oh no, I ran into the tentacle. So there you go. So now you got the working tentacles inside of your Seek hallway. And that's how you do it. Alright, so let's go ahead and run through the Seek chase one more time, and let's make sure that everything works here. You guys can play your own custom music. You guys can do all that cool stuff. But we're going to go over here, and we're going to test it out. So, of course, you guys come into the Seek room. It looks like a perfectly normal hallway. You can walk directly down, and you guys can add sound effects or speed blocks or whatever. Oh no. What's that behind me? Oh no, it's Seek! We gotta run! So you guys are running down the hallway. You guys can have the split up doors if you want to. You can put little particle effects from the signs and whatnot. Oh no, and you're in the last room. Oh no, look at the tentacles go. Oh no. So you're running around the tentacles and whatnot. We gotta run from Seek. We gotta run, we gotta run. So normally you'd be running around from him and stuff like that. Quickly, we gotta make it out of here. Go, 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 go. He's about to reach our door. Bam. And the door closes. And you can play like a little sound effect and whatnot if you want to do something like that. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how you make a realistic Seek chase inside of Piggy Build Mode.